What's up, Believe Nation? Welcome to Season 3 of Million Dollar Businesses, where I break down what it takes to build a $1 million plus business in different industries. This season, we look at the life coaching industry, where I sit down with Tim Storey and we go over his 10 keys to success to building a lucrative life coaching business. Tim has traveled to 75 countries to counsel high-profile leaders, entrepreneurs, artists, and athletes. He's authored multiple best-selling books. He's been a featured guest on Oprah's Super Soul Sunday. If you want to learn how to be a successful life coach, this is the man you want to learn from. Let's go meet him and pick his brain together.
When you talk about life coach, whoa, or life advisor, you're taking somebody's life in your hands. And so I think it's very, very important to become educated in what it means to coach somebody in their life. Be careful, man. You got people's lives in your hands. So I literally keep my phone on 24 hours a day, because I've had 13 people die on me in the last year. They died. So it's no joke to me. But this is all real stuff. So it's not like, oh man, I'm a coach, I'm out there making money. No, people are dying. So we've saved a lot of lives and we lost lives. So it's serious stuff.
Mr. Tim Storey, thanks for having me in your home, man. Really appreciate it.
Good to see you. I'm loving what you're wearing.
This is it. This is fresh.
But what's the logo all about?
The logo, well, this is about you, but I'll quickly tell you the logo. The logo is a paper airplane.
Yeah.
To me, it represents entrepreneurship. So entrepreneurs, we take off.
Ooh.
Right? So we have a dream, we want to fly, we want to
like
take off. But it's a paper airplane because we don't have the money, the resources, the wings are hitting. We're not this jet plane taking off right away, but we want to be.
I like it.
Right?
It's working.
Yeah. So instead of doing a fist pump, what I do is we do this. Believe it's the airplane taking off.
Boom.
There it is. I like it.
See?
I love it. So we're doing a 10-part series to talk about how to have a success in the life coaching business. Mm-hmm. Point number 1 for you was get educated.
Yes.
So what does that mean to you?
Well, I think that, before you get out there and share your knowledge, you got to get knowledge.
Right.
and I think that I always say it this way: just because you can sing doesn't mean that you should be a professional singer.
Okay.
So just because you're smart doesn't mean you should be a life coach. Because when you're talking about life coach, whoa, or life advisor, you're taking somebody's life in your hands. And so I think it's very, very important to become educated in what it means to coach somebody in their life. So my background is I have a doctorate in world religion, but while I was studying that, I took probably 7 years of training in marriage and family, crisis counseling. So really I am a therapist. So that helped me to deal with people's lives, because as you know, you got your physical life, your spiritual life, your financial life, your job, then you have your social life. So depending on what somebody's going through, I feel like because of my education, I'm more equipped to handle whatever they're going through.
So what do you think somebody who wants to be a life coach should do for their own education? How do I get educated as a life coach?
Okay, so one thing is your story is your story. So I do believe that somebody can have an amazing story of coming from addiction and then getting better, and then they can coach people in that field. Or someone that was an athlete and they went from being an athlete and then they no more applause of the crowd, they could coach somebody having to do with that. But I think it's very important that you really, really have a true revelation of what you're talking about. So a revelation brings conviction. So you have to have a revelation on that subject. So my type of life coaching a lot is in the area of crisis. So I have my own story. Father dies at 10. That was difficult on my mother, raising 4 children. We have 5, but one had already been married. 4 children on her own. So that was my story, right? But then I wanted to get a revelation on crisis coaching on how to bring somebody through their dilemma. So you have your story, but then get educated in the area that you want to help people in.
Do you still coach people beyond the crisis, or are you the crisis management guy?
Well, I started as a crisis guy, and then now my last book was called Comeback and Beyond. But I'm super good at the crisis. And the thing that I realized, Evan, is that people are going through something always. And I say that you're going through recovery and discovery at all times. So recovery is, healing from wounds of our past. But so I was just like healing you of the wounds in the past. So now I'm also the discovery coach too. So yes, I deal with crisis, but also deal with the beyond now. But that's something that I kind of grew into.
Are there any good programs or courses, or like if I want to be a life coach, you can't just go to university and become a life coach?
There's some phenomenal ones.
Okay.
I mean, I love John Maxwell. I think that John Maxwell's coaching system is one of the best. So there's probably about like 5 amazing coaching programs. I would have probably taken John's to add to mine if I needed it, but for me, I was fortunate because, as you know, I work with entertainers. So what happened is that if I was not educated in an area, there was a go-to psychologist that's very well known that taught at USC forever, and I would go to her for some answers, and then we created a curriculum, and then I added 2 more psychologists and 1 psychiatrist, and we created a 550-page curriculum on coaching that's phenomenal. Yeah.
But without the revelation, the training won't help?
Well, the training will help, but you got to know that you got to know you got to know. You got to, it's almost like Michael Jordan, right? He had a revelation that he was so good at being Michael Jordan, he'd stick his tongue out. You put 1 defender, 2 defenders, 3 defenders, doesn't matter. Bam, 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 bam. Same thing, if somebody comes to me in a crisis, I don't think I can be beat. I'm good at untying a knot. Like when you were a kid, did you ever get a knot in your shoe?
Yeah, I still do.
Okay. So for some reason, my mother was really good at untying knots. I'm like a master at untying knots.
And is that a combination of you just having to untie so many knots in your own life, plus then learning the skills, or it's just a talent?
No, I think it's really more of understanding the skill of how to work through a crisis. Like, how do I work through this crisis? And so, one of the ways you work through a crisis, number 1, is you have to become awake. And then number 2, you got to take inventory. So I'm awake, now I take inventory. Oh crap, what did I do to myself? And then thirdly, you got to look for help. People stronger than yourself, okay? And then the 4th thing you got to do is you got to cooperate with your comeback. So just those principles alone, we've untied the knots of some of the greatest minds in the world.
Do you then teach people how to use your system?
Yes. So I would say of the 20 best life coaches in the world, I probably coach 12 to 14 of them. Yeah, that's my deal.
I like it.
Yeah.
And is it a training system that anybody can sign up for, or is it public? Can they find it?
Well, I think it's just they look for me.
Right.
And at this stage of my life, I'm like a player coach. I'm in my 50s, and I feel like I'm a player coach. So I only have so much time in the day to do the one-on-one counseling that I do. And so now I don't want to do like the mass counseling, but there are great coaches that I coach nowadays and really teach them this system from this over 500 pages that we have created with the psychologists and psychiatrists. But the cool thing is it's changing people's lives. That's what it all comes down to. That's what you do, that's what I do.
Does the revelation come from a pain?
The revelation can come from the pain, but the revelation is an illumination. It's the Oprah Aha moment, okay? So the revelation can come from deep study, and then you go, bam, I get it. But you do have to have empathy and compassion to understand pain. So I've been through personal pain, but I also have compassion to understand pain.
So if somebody watching this,
Yeah.
they feel like life coaching is for them, they're not 100% sure what the next step is or how to get the best education, what would you say is my next 3 steps I need to go off and start doing?
Okay, number one, you have to see what moves you. I'm moved by people hurting. So I remember I was running laps when I was a kid, probably 5th grade, and there was a kid named Freddie who he was having an asthma attack in the middle of these laps we were running. And me and this guy named Don, we used to try to be number 1 and 2. We'd switch off on who was the best. And I was beating Don this day. But I saw Freddie having an asthma attack, and I stopped winning to make sure Freddie was okay, and told the teacher so we can get his inhaler. So I was moved. So number one, you got to be moved. Number two, find a mentor. So number one, be moved. What moves you? Number two, get a mentor. Okay, and then number three, just open your lives to helping someone. It's not usually like online coaching at first, or you like get your own office space. Just start being open to help give somebody else a boost.
On the mentorship side, how do you do that? If somebody comes and says, hey, Tim, will you mentor me? I want to be a life coach. I'm sure there's tons of people who would want that opportunity, and your time is super limited. How do you pick who you'd want to mentor?
Okay, on the mentor side, you just opened up the door because you just came in my house and we're doing these courses to help them learn. So that's good on you. Thanks for doing this. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
No, that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
So we're not charging them right now. So they are being mentored by somebody who's a master at what I do. So there's their answer right there.
And there's
Follow
books
you.
and so there's books and podcasts, and you've done lots of other videos and interviews.
Yes.
But then the actual, hey, Tim, I'm dealing with this client. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to help them.
Yeah.
They're struggling.
There's good manuals out there.
Yeah.
On coaching, how to coach. Okay. There's great podcasts that some of us have been on, and we're sharing secrets. And then I'm a pretty open guy. So if they can find me, I always try to pay it forward.
And what do you need to see from a mentee? Because I think most mentees.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I think mentors love giving back.
Yeah, I do.
It's the greatest thing of all time. But you hate wasting your time.
Yeah.
And so many mentees never follow through that. It's hard to make that balance.
I'm looking for heart.
Yeah.
I'm looking for heart. Like if somebody cares about people, if they're helping somebody like in the addiction space, like I help a lot of people in the addiction space. And so if I see somebody that is trying to help somebody, man, I'm there. I want to help you because you may help stop a young man from overdosing on heroin. So it's worth my time.
And would you say it's better to have somebody come in and say, hey, Tim, will you be my mentor? Or, hey, Tim, I'm struggling with this one question.
I think it's both.
Okay.
I think it's both. I think, as you just said, time is a factor for you and me, right? And so sometimes it's like, hey, take a drive with me to Starbucks while we talk. Sometimes it's, let's do a Skype meeting or a Zoom meeting. Or sometimes it's like, hey, read this book, that book helped me. Or watch that podcast helped me.
Got it. And then back to just education and getting enough qualifications and feeling like you're ready. What about the people who feel like they're never ready? That they'll look at you and say, well, I'm not Tim Storey level.
Yeah.
I can't do that.
So you share from the position that you are presently. Like there's some really good coaches that are like 20 years of age. They're not like 42, but they're 20. So share from where you are presently, but realize, be careful, man. You got people's lives in your hands. So I literally keep my phone on 24 hours a day because, I've had 13 people die on me in the last year. They died.
Wow.
So it's no joke to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, they died. So, that's very sober, right? But this is all real stuff. So it's not like, oh man, I'm a coach, I'm out there making money. No, people are dying. So we've saved a lot of lives and we lost lives. So it's serious stuff.
How do you deal with the weight of that? Of like, this is actual life and death.
The weight of like somebody passing is heavy stuff. It really is. I mean, like, there's a group I work with called Melrose Recovery. And, you see a young guy or young woman come in, and they're just not themselves. And maybe they're there 2-3 weeks, and it looks like they're going to make it. They're like, Tim, I'm going to make it. Oh, my God, your stuff is working. And then, sometimes these people will leave, and you hear 4 months later that they OD'd in a hotel room. It's really, really, really tough stuff. It's tough stuff. But to me, it makes me want to get better, better at understanding, better at giving answers.
Right.
Do
you feel the burden of that? Like,
I totally do.
How do you not feel, I'm their life coach, they died, it's my fault? How do you get over that?
Well, I don't think that there is a way to, like, dust it off like it was a bad game,
right.
like if you're an athlete.
I'm feeling the weight just
no,
sitting
man,
here.
I carry it.
Yeah.
I carry it. I just went to a funeral today, So this is all real to me. But I think that's why, even if I'm dealing with a famous actor, that they may not be in a crisis like they're going to die. But I do believe that the pain that I carry from other people makes me good at all levels. Man, it's so important. You got to carry the pain.
I like it. Since this video is about getting educated, what last tip would you have for people who want to be a life coach that you feel they're missing in their education path?
I think look for mentors, as you brought up earlier, of people that are good coaches. I think Brené Brown is phenomenal. She as a writer of daring bravely and getting through some of the pain of your past. My good friend, she's my friend too. Also, Iyanla Van Zandt, and what she's done about getting through pain. My stuff, my book, Utmost Living, Don't Get Stuck in an Almost Life, my book, Come Back and Beyond. I think I think that's a group of people that actually really care. So you're gonna feel that from our writings and also from what we say in interviews.
So this is a 10-part series with Tim Storey on how to build a successful life coaching business. Up next is how to be original. Go click the link next to us and we'll see you there.